Okay. Very often we try to start or to finish and start a lesson with the beginning of a topic, but this one is a long one and we stop kind of the middle of it. And it's actually um, an explanation for Erastus that I said last week is the spirit um, that assume responsibility to really assist us to understand mediumship. He takes a lot of participation in this book. You're gonna see his name quite sometimes. And since that he was like in charge to teach us mediumship, there was, or that it is, up to us to learn at this time, without, of course, doing our homework for us, without, of course, um, denying us from our duty to do our own research, our own understand of this very complex human attribute that is mediumship. Uh, I took a very lightly look at some of the books on this topic of apportation, and there isn't much out there. There is a lot of examples of it. There is a lot of mediums, including Ernesto Bolzano, who describes the phenomena, but really explaining the phenomena. It seems to me that whatever Erasmus leave here for us is still the best that we can get so far. And again, he's not gonna do our homework and anticipate the research that is up to us to do the work. Um, I don't like to start in the middle
Yeah.
of his conversation, but to go back would be also because you read quite a bit already. So let's read ahead, and then I'll try to explain or to go back quickly or whatever I have read before. Okay?
Okay.
So it's the middle of page 163, the spontaneous manifestations. When you say you have seen how many difficulties,
Okay.
I believe that's where we stopped.
Yes.
Do you see in the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You have seen how many difficulties are involved in the production of apportations. You can logically conclude that phenomena of this nature are extremely rare, as I have already stated. So much more reason for spirits not to trouble themselves with producing them, because it requires on their part an almost materialistic effort, which is tedious and wearisome to them. Besides, it is so happens that very frequently, despite the spirit's energy and will, the state of the medium sets up an insurmountable barrier.
Okay, thanks. So an apportation basically means the transportation of one thing from point A to point B. And of course, when you deal with mediumship, when you don't with the physical phenomena, it means to bring one object that a spirit will bring one object, one thing, from one point to another point. Okay. And I also had said last week that although it is a physical phenomenon, we are seeing here as Kardec always does, a building block, and things go from the most simple to the most complex slowly, as didactically it should be done. And the beginning of the stories of the physical phenomena, it was just a large amount of ectoplasm, and spirits would pick up that ectoplasm from the medium or some from nature and performs reps, levitations, and stuff like that, that in which the medium, besides providing fluids, was pretty much absent from the whole process. Very often and most of the time, actually the medium not even know that it's a medium providing the substance required for the phenomena to take place. And now you see things going to another step, a higher level of mediumship, in which the participation of the medium is much greater. Very often the medium is aware that the medium provides those fluids. Very often the medium, or almost always, the medium has to be in a somnambulistic or semi-somnambulistic state, has been a state of deeper mediumistic trance for this to take place. For this to take place requires a, I'll call a positive energy in that environment where the phenomenon is supposed to take place. And we are seeing here, as I mentioned, that these require tremendous amount of energy from both from the spiritual world and from the physical world. There is a much refined attunement from the spirit and the medium. And the word that's over here that is important for us to keep in mind is affinity. They must have a degree of affinity between the medium and the spirit. And a big difference also is that for the phenomenon of apparition to happen, although we could count with the positive energy of many around, but it's one medium only who utilize for the phenomenon of apportation, while the more simplified kinds of physical phenomena, they could use multiple mediums. For apportation requires one single medium, and this one single medium has to have a more eloquent type of mediumship for this to take place. And to paraphrase Erastus over here, it says, employ mediums who I shall call sensitives, the, that is gifted to the highest degree with the mediunistic faculties of expansion and penetrability. Okay, and then if you continue over here now where you just read now, um, Eras says, we have seen how many difficulties are involved in the production of apportation. And it's exactly because what I just have said, it requires affinity, it requires a more eloquent type of mediumistic ability, it requires a greater degree of expansion, penetrability of the medium, which I'm going to explain that further because later on this come over, then we'll talk about that later. And requires also a more refined environment. It cannot be done anywhere. It cannot be done, as we're going to read soon over here, usually doesn't happen in public. Usually happens in private, confined mediumistic sessions because of all that is necessary for the phenomenon to take place. And very often, regardless of the good intention of everyone present, it does not take place. We see that in the domains of mediumship when everybody's expecting some kind of apportation to happen, and from the spiritual world, the mentor says that the energy in that environment, the degree of no futile curiosity of the spectators did not allow the phenomenon to take place.
Mm.
which puts upon us the responsibility to really think of what we're doing with our thoughts, what's our objective when we go to sessions like that, which of course makes it something very rare and very difficult to happen. Okay?
Okay. It is therefore obvious, and I have no doubt that you will accept the fact, that the perceptible phenomenon of raps, movements, and levitation are simple in nature and can be performed by concentrating and dilating certain fluids, and they could also be caused by and precipitated by the will and effort of capable mediums if they are seconded by friendly and benevolent spirits. Apportation phenomena, on the other hand, are multiple, complex in nature, and require the existence of special conditions. In addition, they can be performed only when just one spirit and one medium are involved, and besides all the resources needed to produce tangible phenomena, they require a very special combination to isolate and render invisible the object or objects to be apported.
Go ahead.
Every one of you spiritists has comprehended my explanation and has realized perfectly well that this concentration of special fluids is what is needed to produce the mobility and tangibility of inert matter. You have accepted it just as you have accepted the phenomenon of electricity and magnetism, which are so analogous to mediumistic phenomena, and which are, so to speak, their confirmation and development. As for disbelievers and academians, the latter are even worse than the former. It is not my duty to convince them, and I am not even concerned about them. They will someday be convinced by the factual evidence, for they will have to bow down before the unanimous testimony of spirit phenomena, just as they have already been forced to do with respect to other phenomena that, that they rejected at first. To sum
Thanks.
up, oh,
Thanks.
continue.
Okay.
Well,
So Erasmus again comes back and again and again, forcefully telling us that it's a highly complex, okay, and to be performed requires means to be a lot more eloquent and involved in the process as the opposite of it, a more simple physical phenomenon of levitation, wraps, things like that. The medium is almost absent from the whole thing besides providing the fluid. You also are going to see that, as we studied before, most of the phenomena of physical phenomena, more simple one, um, it was a matter of quantity of fluid. Now here is not only quantity but also quality. The quality of fluid that the spirits can utilize to perform the phenomena is also important. The complexity is much greater. You have to pick up, let's say, a flower from someone's garden, okay, make it invisible, bring it to an environment, and then make it visible again so everyone can see it. Remember, there's a physical phenomena. If a spirit bring a flower to a room where we are sitting together, all of us will see that flower. Not only mediums, all of us will see it. If a spirit chooses to materialize oneself and is capable of, everyone over there will see it, not only mediums. As long as you have physical eyes, you'll see it. Okay? And then in the next paragraph, you see here the very firm and very nonsensical attitude of Erastus towards the believers and non-believers. He says, you spiritists, you get what you said. You understand the physical phenomenon, the phenomenon of spiritism was right there. I'm not going to waste my time with the disbelievers and the what he calls he can uh, academicians. I think that's what you pronounce right. Which basically is the intellectuals, the ones who uh, have only the intelligence of the brain but lack the intelligence of the heart. Eventually, they will come to the realization when they cannot no longer refuse the very obvious existence of the phenomena. But I'm not going to waste my time with them. I'm talking to you guys who have the intelligence not only of the brain, but also the intelligence of the heart. Okay?
Hey, Elmo,
Yep.
I'm just curious about something because we read in different books that sometimes in the spiritual world they have machines they describe as machines for us that do different things that our science is not capable of, not even trying to grasp what they do in the purpose. So this apportation, there's no a spiritual machine. It's just the spirit, the medium, and the energy itself, right?
As much as I have read so far, no. There is no machines, there is no equipment involved. But having said that, I can't not say for sure that they do not utilize one another apparatus. But all that I have read does not include the use of one or another machine of apparatus. But yes, you're right. I mean, they do have their own instruments and machines out there, a lot more well developed than ours over here, and then utilize them. But for what I had so far, I didn't read anything that says that they use anything, which doesn't mean that they don't. It just means that they choose not to reveal it, or I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, the reason why I ask because our science fiction already shows something that transporting things, and since the most of the things that we have here is we used to say that is a bad cop of the spiritual world. I was here. I wasn't gonna mention that, but since you opened the door, maybe one day we could do some sort of a apportation at physical level. You think so?
I'm a very optimistic, and I think all those possibilities are very likely. So if you ask me, yeah, I think eventually we'll be able to do a lot of things that you cannot even imagine today. So I think it's possible. But again, I want to just reaffirm that the fact that it was not mentioned so far that they use an instrument does not mean they do not use it. So to give that answer, I cannot use what I have so far is that at least as much as I know, they have not reviewed the use of any instrument. But do they? It's possible.
Mm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. To sum up, while the phenomenon of tangibility are frequent, those of apportation are very rare, since the conditions needed to produce them are quite difficult to ensure. Consequently, no medium can say, at such and such a time and moment, I will obtain an apportation, because often the spirit itself finds that it has been prevented from doing it. We should add that these phenomena become doubly difficult to produce in public, where there are almost always energetic refractory elements that paralyze the efforts of the spirit itself, and even more so, the action of the medium. On the other hand, you are aware that such phenomena are often produced spontaneously in private meetings, usually without the medium's knowledge and premeditation, but rarely occur when he or she has been forewarned. This should lead you to conclude that there is a legitimate reason for being suspicious every time a medium boasts of being able to obtain them at will, or, in other words, to give others to give orders to spirits as if they were servants, which is simply absurd. You already know that the rule that spirit phenomena are not to be used to put on shows or to entertain the curious. If a few spirits are involved in these sorts of things, it can only involve very simple phenomena and not those which, like apportations and other similar ones, demand exceptional conditions.
Thanks. So again, let us bring back the many difficulties imposed by the phenomenal apportation or transportation of objects to take place. And again, it rarely it happens in public, usually in limited, a small group in private sessions. And one thing that was said in the very beginning, Kardec still saying in the very beginning when you read, is that very often or almost exclusively, the phenomenon of apportation of bringing objects is is of a good nature, of a pleasant nature. They will bring things that are pleasing to us, candies, flowers, good sense of smells, stuff like of that nature, and not things that are frightening, that are ugly, that are bad. So usually it's something good, something pleasing. Another thing that Kardec left clear in the beginning when we read, still Kardec, that very often it's done in a very spontaneous way, means that it's not usually done by request of the incarnate ones. Say, can you bring me a flower? Can you bring me a chocolate? I'm kind of hungry. Can I have a canned bar? It usually doesn't happen like that. Usually it comes spontaneously from the spiritual world. The spirits offer to us very often as a gesture of the likeness of the work that we do and things like that, which makes again more rare and difficult to happen, because how often we deserve that kind of compliment from the spiritual world. Um, okay, I think I covered everything here. And again, as I kept as you read here, see how Erasmus is extremely firm and non-nonsensical. And as we know, being a disciple for Paul of Tarsus, seems to carry the same characteristics of Paul of Tarsus. Seems like he was a really good student and learned very well from Paul of Tarsus. He has the same strict wordings and does not waste time with frugalities here.
I'm just thinking here, because when you look on the beginning of the raps, when they started, there was like um, an involvement, meaning the reps, and then became quantity of reps in letters and vocabulary and the tables, and turn into what we know nowadays, the psychography. On the operation, there is like is there like an evolution end game on that, or is just one more of a proof of the existence of the spiritual the spiritual world?
It is both, in my opinion. It is both. It is a more definite proof, but again, for those who wants to see it, for those who does not want to see it, they will reject it the same way. Even if the apparition happens, they will deny it. But it's also a much more eloquent type of a physical phenomena, and which leads us to the realization that a physical phenomena per se is not a very limited kind of mediumship. It can be very eloquent, can be very important, can be very useful. We can have apportations to assist in surgical spiritual surgeries and assist to establish health for some individuals. So it can be highly productive, can be really eloquent and and require a moral progress of not only the media but individuals in that area as much as the intelligent phenomena. And I say that because it seems like when you use you record the intelligent phenomena, we put physical phenomena below the intelligent one. They are not really below. They all perform according to their needs, and they equally good when they are performed well, and are able to reach the proposed objective. But definitely, it's a progress. And Kardec leaves it clear, and Erasmus leaves it clear that from simple reps to apportation, there is tremendous amounts of evolution from one to another, but it's still physical phenomena.
Thank you.
Okay. Remember, Spiritists, that if it is absurd to systematically reject all beyond the grave phenomenon outright, it is also imprudent to blindly accept everything. When a phenomenon of tangibility, apparition, or apportation occurs spontaneously and unexpectedly, accept it. But I will never tire of repeating, accept nothing blindly. Every fact must be submitted to a meticulous, in-depth, and critical examination because, believe me, Spiritism, so rich in sublime and grand phenomenon, has nothing to gain from the insignificant manifestations that skillful stage magicians can imitate.
Yeah, thanks. I think we should frame this paragraph and,
Yeah.
and repeat every beginning of a mediumship session or mediumship studies. This is a very important and useful warning that we spiritists should never forget. Do not reject systematically the phenomena that it's happening, but do not take everything freely without passing it to our reasoning, what thinking, what using what God give us, our intelligence. Do not make a fool of ourselves. Do not make a fool of the doctrine.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I know fully well that you will say, but such phenomena are useful for convincing disbelievers. You must understand, however, that if you had no means of convincing them, you would not have even a fraction of the spiritists that you can count today. Rather, speak to their hearts. That is how most conversions will occur. If you find it appropriate for certain individuals, then resort to material phenomena, or at least present them in such a way that they will not be misinterpreted. And especially observe the normal conditions under which these phenomena occur, because if they are introduced inappropriately, they will serve as arguments for disbelievers instead of means of convincing them. Erasmus.
Thanks. So for now, Erasmus close his
Mhm.
explanation to us and leave a very important point here, in which that, yeah, you may ask, and just ask over here, can't this be a very strong proof of mediumship that will convince the disbelievers? And the last answer is Really not, because those who choose to reject will reject. Those who put in their mind from the beginning that mediumship does not exist, it's impossible. You can present them many kind of phenomena and then you will not believe. They will come out and say they are, no, there is some kind of illusion, is a work of magic, a work of illusionists, but they will never accept it. More important, Erastus say over here, and Kardec repeats many times, if you want to convince anyone about spiritism, use what it speaks to their heart. Because again, only the intelligence of the brain will not suffice. You must use the intelligence of the heart. Most people who come into spiritism are seek something more than the phenomena. The phenomena is secondary. It is secondary to the moral teachings. It's secondary to the exercise of charity, which is the foundations, the base of spiritism. So rather, speak to their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely important. Um, Now, in case you think that a physical manifestation, a spontaneous physical manifestation, apportation you'd be useful in one or another situation to bring evidence to someone who is naturally open to the possibility, of course. No, and it's your duty to make that distinguish, not waste your time, not throw pearls to pigs, as Christ suggests to us, right? If you make that judgment that you'd be useful for that individual, you must do the homework yourself before you make sure that whatever going to be presented is indeed a spiritual phenomena, that it's not a hoax, that it's not an illusion, it is not a work of magic. So you won't compromise us, and more important, we will guarantee, certify to that individual that mediumship does not exist because he just caught what you present to them as being a hoax. So we have to have that care to do our homework before and make sure that you present something that's real. Now it's up to that individual to take it or not take it. And there we cannot impose upon anyone. All right, questions, comments?
Yeah, um, more of a curiosity. Let's say maybe it's not a good example, but let's say a pianist here in our world, a more experienced pianist, let's put it that way, when plays a music, a song, if you compare to a less experienced pianist, you see the difference even though they are playing the same song, same music. So in terms of the apportation, a more evolved spirit, in terms of the end result of whatever they are transporting, will be there like a difference in the final result, or it doesn't really matter? You know, the object uh, transported will be exactly the same.
As we have said here, the complexity of the phenomenon of apportation is so intense that it, de- it is multifactorial. It depends on many, many things. It depends on the quality of the environment, the energies in the environment. It depends on the medium, and it also depends on the spirits as well. Now, we know that even for the apportation here, the the physical phenomena can usually cannot be performed by highly evolved spirits because their perispirit is so ethereal, is so sublime that they cannot have any more affinity with things that are more dense, like ectoplasm, like a flower, like a candy. Okay, so very often the phenomena itself is performed, by a spirit that, although perhaps more evolved than we are, for sure, but it still have a more dense perispirit that can interact with more dense things like ectoplasm, like a candy or a flower in this case. But those spirits for the phenomenon of apportation, they will be directly guided and assisted by more evolved spirit, as if someone who, let's say, an older um, contractor who really knows how to put a wall together, but no longer have the energy to pick up bricks, we'll get someone to help him to put up the bricks and everything else. And that individual will do one of the guidance of the more experienced, the wiser person in this process. That less evolved one will gain tremendous knowledge, and eventually you'll be just as good as the older contractor. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, what I was trying to get is more like of that the spirit that the less evolved spirit that is doing the transportation, let's put it that way. If he's more or less evolved, the final, let's say he's bringing a flower, and let's say that because he's not you know that elevated, the flower is missing a couple petals. Let's put it that way. But
Yeah,
if he was a really a little bit more evolved, maybe he could bring the whole flower. Let's put it that way. I'm just trying to get a sense, or it doesn't really matter from the moment that the apportation, it begins. It doesn't matter that the spirit itself, the object will, be transported fully to the end place. Let's put it that way.
I don't think so because that less is evolved speed. But again, let's make sure it's less evolved, not at the level of, let's say, an Erastus, but at the level, say, of a devout Perafran. Okay, it's still pretty good, pretty high up there. Okay, uh, but in any way, that level of the spirit that can still associate with more dense matter will be guided by a more evolved spirit. So I don't think that the quality, the moral qualities of that spirit will affect the phenomenon itself. More likely, um, the quality of the medium, the quality, moral qualities of the medium, and not only moral qualities. Also, I mean, you have to be well prepared. Perhaps that medium is undergoing a lot of problems at home, and that day he cannot concentrate well enough. He cannot reach that level of what is the word that he uses? Expansion required. So there is, again, it's multi-factor. There's a lot, many things that could affect the phenomena, but I think the spirit itself would not be one of them because that spirit is being guided by a much more evolved spirit. If it was not that fact, there was not a more evolved spirit there helping that case, I would agree with you. But because there is a spirit of there telling them how to do, what to do, things most likely will, from that part, we'll be fine. From our part over here, it might be the problem.
Thank you.
Okay. So what we have now here is a Q&A, again via psychography, that the Kardec asked spirits, counting with the assistance of Erastus, because even with the best of the intention, the spirits again who perform those phenomena are not so highly evolved, and they will tell what they know, and at times Erastus will make corrections or complement the answers from those spirits. Okay?
Okay.
Just 1 minute, João.
Mhm.
I don't have a clock here with me now. Just tell me when time is up, okay?
Okay, yeah, we still
Thanks.
have more
Yeah,
than 50 minutes to
I
go.
have no idea. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. 99 then. This phenomenon displays a highly remarkable characteristic. Some mediums can only obtain it while in a somnambulistic state, an easily explainable fact. Somnambulists display a natural release, a sort of isolation of their spirit and perispirit, which will facilitate the combining of the required fluids. Such has been the case of the apportations that we have witnessed. The following questions were asked of the spirit who produced the phenomenon, but its responses sometimes were affected by its lack of knowledge. Therefore, we submitted them to the spirit Erastus, who was much more enlightened from a theoretical point of view, and who complemented the answers with his judicious comments. One was the artisan, the other the scholar, and a comparison of these two intelligences is a very instructive study in itself, for it shows clearly that it is not enough simply to be a spirit in order to understand everything.
Okay, thanks. So what he mentions over here about it appears to be an somnambulistic state means that exactly what Kardec had used the words before, expansion and penetrability. That means those spirits, that those mediums are much farther expanding their perispirit from the physical body. They are much less associated with the dense matter, although it's still connected, please understand that, but much further expanded the perispirit, which eases the release of the fluids and even may improve on the quality of that fluid. And that shows one more time the complexity and the difficulty of making apportations. And again, understand that most of the time those apportations are done spontaneously at the will of the spirits and not at the will of the incarnate. Otherwise, we know what you would be asking them to bring to us, right? Everybody knows. And here Kardec uses two spirits. One is an artisan, the other one a scholar. They answer questions to the best of their ability. And you see here that eliminated that crazy idea. I don't know when did it start, who came up with the idea that once you are a spirit, you are full of tremendous amount of intellectual abilities. And Kardec shows here that we are what we are with without a physical body. Unfortunately, when I lose the physical body, I will still be dumb because it's not because I'm now in the spiritual world, I become a scholar, intelligent person. We have to work and produce that for ourselves. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Would you please tell us why the applications that you produce are only accomplished during the magnetic field of the medium? Okay. Because of the medium's nature. The phenomenon that I produce while he is sleeping, I could equally produce in a different medium who is awake.
Thanks. So let's go more to the question from Renato when I said that the problem is more from our side here on the incarnate side than really from the spiritual side. The medium says over here that he can, with that particular medium, he can only produce the phenomena when the spirit is born in a somnambulic state, what I call over here magnetic sleep of the medium. So basically, it's a deep mediumistic trance, basically over here. And the spirit responds that no, it's not from my for my part, it's because of the medium. With another medium, I could produce with the medium out free from the somnambulic state, being awake.
Number two, why do you take so long in bringing objects to us? And why do you arouse the convirtuousness of the medium, exciting his desire to get the promised object? I need time to prepare the fluids that I will use to bring the object. As for my exciting the medium, I often do it only to entertain those present, as well as the somnambulist himself.
Uh,
Remark by, okay, stop here.
no, no, go ahead.
Okay, remark by Erastus. The spirit who has responded does not know any better. He is not aware, he is not aware of the usefulness of such convergent excitement, which he instinctively arouses without comprehending its effect. He thinks he uses it as entertainment, while he in fact unknowingly stimulates a greater emission of fluid. This is a result of the difficulty that this type of phenomenon presents, a difficulty that is even greater when it is not spontaneous, especially with some mediums.
Okay, thanks. So two questions over here. One regarding time. Why does it take time? Well, the spirit has to go somewhere, pick up that object from somewhere, let's say to go to a garden and get some flowers, make it invisible, bring to the room and make it visible. So it doesn't happen in a fraction of a second. It takes some time, right? But more important, the second question, why do you often excite the medium? Why do you bring about a an aggressive desire for the performance of the phenomena in the medium? And the spirit responds, okay, he does that because he likes to entertain those present. And then here comes the remark of Erastus. The spirit is giving the answer according to its understanding, according to its knowledge, not being more evolved or understand everything yet. That's what he sees. The cavatio is the excitement of the medium, is just a form of entertain. But Erasmus explained over here there is no such a thing. The spirit is saying what the spirit knows, but that's not the reason that they will bring excitement, being a more aggressive desire for the phenomena to take place. Um, is because it will stimulate greater emission of more fluid. If I'm sorry, if I now want something really want it to almost in a desperate way, I will do everything more that I can to get this thing to be done. So when uh, the medium is more excited about the phenomenon, is more excited about seeing the results, seeing the operation, it will release more of the fluid that now we call ectoplasm. That you know that. So again, the medium, the spirit will respond according to the knowledge, and the same way if you ask kindergarten what is the heart, they will give an explanation according to the knowledge of what is the heart. If you ask, if you make the mistake to ask a cardiologist what is the heart, he will give an explanation that will be way above your level to understand. So, and it's the same question, and both are telling the truth. One is able to expand the answer a lot more because it knows a lot more. Okay.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity. That medium's that medium's excitement translates to other kinds of spiritual phenomena as well.
Not that I know. I would I would think, and then I would think, and I've read that anywhere, that the more passion that you put in getting a result, the more likely we are to get that result. Could there are times we overdo with our passions and become more of a problem? I think it's possible also. So moderation, perhaps in other kinds of phenomena, would be good in this particular case. That's telling us the more we excite the medium, the more we bring upon the medium a true desire to get this thing to happen, the more fluid you'll be able to expel.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Number 3. Since the production of this phenomenon depends on the special nature of this particular medium, would it be possible to produce it more easily and rapidly by using a different medium? The production of the phenomenon depends on the nature of this medium and can only be produced by mediums of like nature. As for rapidity, we find the habit of frequently using the same medium to be of great help.
Okay. So we all know that there is a organic component in mediumship that makes a medium. Okay. Um, likely associated with the pineal gland. You know, and we still need to do a lot of research on that part. It also has something to do with the outlayer of the perispirit that allows an incarnate person to be a medium. So that's what it means by the nature of the medium. Is that organic component that makes that medium particularly a medium who can perform this kind of physical phenomena. So a medium that donates ectoplasm for traps to take place may not have the nature also to perform operations. So it's a very specific, exclusive type of nature for those mediums. Now, repetition leads to improvement. So if a medium is using, or if a spirit is using a particular medium repeated times, it will increase the affinity of both of them. That's the word affinity is very important. You create a familiarity between those two. Okay. Of course, a well educated, I think that's the word, medium will be able to work with different mediums. But when you use one that is frequently used, it will definitely improve the quality of the phenomena because they are now familiar to one another. They understand, they feel one another much better. Okay? When it is different, I have to point over here in intelligent phenomena when a medium only receives messages from one spirit. That is a red flag. We know that. That is something that I have to be careful with. If a medium becomes exclusivity of one particular spirit, it is a red flag. But in this case, it is actually a positive thing. And it's obvious to understand why, right? Questions, comment? All right, move on.
Can the individuals present influence the phenomenon somehow? Whenever there is disbelief or opposition by some of them, it can create serious problems for us. We prefer to perform our experiments with believers and with those versed in Spiritism. But that does not mean that ill will can completely paralyze us.
So again, very important. The environment is important for the phenomenon to take place. The energies that prevails in the ambient, that is the sum of the collective minds, right, will will have an influence on the phenomena. And if a room is full of disbelievers, or visual opposes spirituality, it makes it hard, if not impossible. As the spirit says over here, it will not completely paralyze them, but have been an ambient where the collective, the sum of collective minds over there is a positive one, and that, and so verse in spiritism he uses over here is definitely a plus. You know, if you do understand a little bit of spirit, just a little bit of spiritism, it will it will be helpful, right? So yeah, the invited individuals in that place will definitely affect the quality of the work on that day. It may not be able, as we have seen before, it may not even be able to perform because the minds are not cooperating with the necessary energies for it to take place.
Yeah, maybe you mentioned before I'm recording. The apparition of the object is if someone is watching, is gradual or is like instantaneously.
It can be both, as we have seen, and can be actually incomplete. But when the ambience right, the energy is right, is instantaneously, once the spirits make it visible, it's completely visible for everyone present. But at times it's kind of incomplete. Not even the whole thing can be can be made uh, visible to everyone. Depends on the quality of the environment, and sometimes cannot happen at all. But usually, if the ambience properly, carefully prepared, once they make it visible, it will be visible instantaneously for everyone to see it. Given the necessary time, of course, to go outside, pick up whatever they want to pick up, bring it back, make it visible. It doesn't happen instantaneously.
Thanks.
Okay, Elmo, time is up.
Oh, okay. So you stop on number 5, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right, so that's it for now. Next time I'm gonna see this again is gonna be next year, I believe.
Yes.
No? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, next year, that's right. 2021, hopefully will be a much better year than 2020. The less troubles for us to deal with. Let us finalize with a prayer. Who wants to go for it?
I'll say it. I will.
Thank you, Al.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, John. Infinite Creator, all goodness and grace, we are grateful to be together this evening for our study of the Medium's book and the chapter involving the physical manifestations. We are grateful for the in-depth knowledge that we are being able to receive through the written word that Allan Kardec has brought to us. We are grateful to know that apportations can occur. There is a connection and many other possibilities that need to be set up first, including a pure environment and also a connection and affinity between the medium and those in the spirit world. We are grateful to receive these teachings, and we are grateful to our spiritual benefactors, also the good spirits, the mentors, and those who are inspiring us to continue in our studies. May we return to these studies in the new year with a refreshed mind and with an inspiration to move forward in the studies. We are grateful that we have received them, and may we share them with others who are able to receive them at this time. We humbly ask for safety and protection as we go forth to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we be inspired to bring love, light, and peace to all that we are encountering in our world. As we close now, we give thanks to all those who are participating, those who are connected with the SGNY, and those that are bringing forth in goodwill, in charity, and inspiration to others, a goodness, a greater need that this world does need to have. We close now and go forth and receive the Christ love and light within, sharing it with others as they can receive it. We close now and humbly ask to continue with our studies, with our teachings, with our mindfulness throughout the week. We continue to bless all those who come into our path. May we do the best through our goodwill, through our service to others, through our heart, and through our compassion. We close now and ask to be beacons of light. Go forth now in peace. So be it.